the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.
Head on over to Cold Stone for that classic soda shop feel, but make it with ice cream. Try Cold Stone Guam's new limited time creation or float today. That's the root beer revival creation with root beer ice cream, chocolate chips, caramel and whipped topping, or go with the float with root beer ice cream, root beer, whipped topping, and a maraschino cherry. Only here for a limited time, so visit them at their Micronesia Mall and GPO locations today. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
It's me, Wednesday Addams. I regret to inform you that I have devised the meal of misfortune with Wendy's. Normally I'd be against this type of capitalistic corporate synergy. But when the other pigtailed provocateur said I could concoct my own Frosty, I melted. My meal is tribute to the suffering that awaits us all. It's pure torture for your taste buds, with 4 nightmarish dips of dread. Don't waste my time asking which ones you'll get. You must surrender to your fate. Enjoy the anguish.
Dare to try? Something new? Life's too short!
You gotta chill with a snackable drink.
Life is too short. Hey, you gotta chill.
Mogu Mogu.
Moku Moku! Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Good afternoon, my dear friends. It is 12:22 p.m. on Monday, September 1, 2025. Happy Labor Day to you all. My name is Troy Torres, and thank you so much for joining me, whether live or for the replay. Joining us live in the comments section right now, Sister Jen Badar and Sister Maria Perez. Thank you so much for joining me, and all of you for being live with me, and of course, those of you who are joining for the replay. So, happy Labor Day. I feel I have to say that. It's obligatory. I cannot think of one Labor Day throughout my adulthood that I ever actually celebrated by caring or by not working. And I have to tell you this, unless it's Easter or Christmas, I actually don't care about the holiday. I don't even care about my birthday. It's like not even a thing, except of course for like the presents. Presents are always, I'm just kidding. I'm too old for that stuff. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, as we think about this, as we tally up how much in contracts the government of Guam under the Leongoro Tenorio administration has farmed out to businesses connected to Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and directly to his family. You know, the price tag already is staggering. The sum already is staggering. It's already at beyond $500,000. But there's more that we haven't tallied up yet in literally thousands of pages of documents that have been disclosed from several agencies about their procurement and financial records connected directly to businesses owned and operated by the Lieutenant Governor's family, ever since the Lieutenant Governor became the Lieutenant Governor. And it calls to mind many things. And what it recently calls to mind is the tragedy of the debate that happened over at the legislature with the budget, where you had senators going back and forth about the need to cut taxes or not to cut taxes, and the need to keep revenue in the government of Guam or not to keep revenue in the government of Guam. And things kept coming up, like the condition of Guam Memorial Hospital, or the fact that every single year, no matter who's in charge of the legislature, whether it's Democrat or Republican, Guam Department of Education is grossly underfunded. Or, you know, how fair is it that it has been the business community and the private sector employees who have borne the brunt of tax increases since 2018, while the public sector got their pay raises and all this stuff, right? Or the debates about where to cut in order to afford the tax cuts. All of these things happening in the Guam legislature during the budget deliberations. And the tragedy is you had right underneath their noses, and for the past 6.5 years, the Tenorio family benefiting at least more than $500,000. And you have the administration complaining and saying, look, if you erode revenues by this much by cutting taxes, or if you don't give this to this agency or that to the other agency, bad things are going to happen for those who most need the supports of the government of Guam. All the while, the administration not addressing the issue of the amount of money going into contracts, amount of money that is being wasted through spending by the administration. And to further the tragedy, you have a legislature that has so far, and I get it, it's still a young legislature. No, it's not a young legislature. It's 9 months into a 2-month or to a 2-year term, so it's not that young. But you have a legislature that has yet to exercise its oversight responsibilities like previous legislatures have, when even a fraction of the alleged corruption that has been uncovered by the media or by audits or alleged by the attorneys general of past have come up. For a fraction of what's come up so far in the past, legislators, whether they are Republicans or Democrats, would have already started oversight hearings. They would have already started investigations. I remember during the Gutierrez administration when the media started to uncover some of this stuff, and these were before the days of elected public auditor. It was the media that was uncovering a bunch of different things. And you had the Republicans who were in charge of the legislature at the time. They were fast, man. They were on it. And they led this entire charge to investigate the Gutierrez administration and everything that came about from that. And then during the Calvo administration, you had rumors, just rumors, no actual evidence, no black and white anything, just rumors of bid rigging and corruption to the benefit of the Calvo family. Nothing in black and white. Just what someone said to a senator caused oversight hearings, caused investigations. Anywhere you turned in the Calvo administration, the Democratic majority of the legislature, they were on it. They were providing those checks and balances. You now have black and white uncovered by the media, not just us, but KOAM as well, including PDN to a certain extent. Facts that are being dug up that are supported in some cases by audits. You have the Attorney General of Guam confirming that he has launched a criminal corruption investigation into at least one contract involving the Lieutenant Governor's family. And you haven't heard, except for Senator Chris Duenas, who said a couple of weeks ago that he would call an oversight hearing. We haven't heard anything since then. And Senator Tony Atta, who, according to the KOAM story on Tiguac Cemetery, was the one who raised some issues. And so KOAM decided to continue their investigative series into the Tiguac Cemetery contracts. Except for those two mentions by those two senators, you haven't heard this Republican majority say anything. You have not heard a call for an investigation. You have not seen any notification of, an oversight hearing. Where are they? Because Republicans, part of the reason you were elected to the majority for the first time in 2 decades is that people were tired of one party ruling. People were tired of seeing the administration get away with what people see in black and white are either unethical or illegal conduct. And so Republicans, you have a mandate to do something about this. And you can't break out the excuse that, we just got done with the budget. It's already a week past that. There should have been something in the midst of all this that's being uncovered about just the amount of money that is inured to the benefit of the lieutenant governor's family. That says something, because it sure is speaking to all of us. And let me tell you how it speaks to all of us. You know that we do the daily memorials, right? The obituaries, the messages of appreciation, when the rosaries and the masses of intention are. And you know what I noticed, and I brought this up to Johnny Rosario a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I'm noticing, Johnny, that a lot of our people are choosing cremation. Like, it's like people are getting cremated way more than people are getting buried or being put into those crypt condos, according to at least all the obituaries that I'm seeing. And she said it's because it's cheaper. And I thought, I wonder how many of these people had different wishes, the ones who died, right? I wonder if they had a wish to be buried next to a loved one in the ground, or to be buried next to a loved one, or in a special place and in one of those crypt condos. I wonder how many of them didn't want to be cremated, but their families didn't have any choice because they couldn't afford the cost of a funeral. Last night we published a story based on data and a report coming out of the Wall Street Journal about how prices have been rising for a number of factors, and pretty soon prices are going to rise again on products that are pretty popular, especially here in Guam, because of the brands that are on our store shelves, how those prices should be rising soon, and companies making decisions based on the tariffs that are now in play, and they've been in play for some time. And so now so there are different factors, right? And so prices are going to go up. And then I thought about the price of rent, the price of mortgages, I think in the PDN, they reported that the average price of a home this year, or as of January of this year, was pegged at $507,000. And look at the price of power, the price of gas. Look at all of the things that could be solved with just a practical amount of money. You'd look at a $1.3 billion budget, and, in the minds of us people, the ones who are not multimillionaires or billionaires, that's a little difficult to wrap our heads around. $1.3 billion. Well, what is that? How do we conceptualize that? Because we've never had to plan for having revenue in our homes of $1.3 billion, or even in our businesses of $1.3 billion. So what does that even look like personally? But when you get down to the brass tacks, and when you consider the effect that just a few dollars can have on just a few things, for example, I wrote this in an editorial that I published this morning. Look at the problem with learning gaps in public schools. And a lot of the research shows that some of the issues, some of the solutions to those learning gaps are actually very simple solutions. A lot of that has to do with there are kids who can't see what's being written or typed up or whatever on the board. They need glasses. So imagine you can start to resolve a learning gap issue by investing $200 for a kid to have reading glasses, or for glasses to start to correct or address an astigmatism. Or staying with the subject of education, $20 per kid in the public school system who can't afford it for basic supplies. Or $5 per lesson, per online lesson, for interventions needed for kids who need to catch up. Or send them to Sylvan for anywhere from $250 to $800 a month, depending on how intense those interventions are needed. Or online tutorials. And that's just with education. What about potholes? We see so many broken roads. We go over them all the time. What if we scale down our thinking just a little bit? Because when you think about all those roads, you're like, gosh, that's a lot. But we've heard this advice from our parents and from those who are wise. Start with something. Start small. And that's where our thinking always should be, is the practical, right? Costs anywhere from $200 if you're hiring a contractor. Costs anywhere from $200 to $600 to fix a pothole, depending on the size. Regular pothole, $200 to $600. How many potholes could be fixed with $500,000? Let's say each of them costs $500. It's 1,000 potholes. That's a lot of roads that will be repaired with $500,000, right? Think about the small things that are needed to address the disparities that people who are living with physical and mental health disabilities are facing. Think about how far $500,000 could get attention for these people, so they're further integrated into our community and have further sustainable lifestyles, independent lifestyles. Think about the Attorney General's Project Dignity, which would cost about $205 a day, and get 20 homeless families off the streets for a year at $1.5 million. What if you scaled that up? What if you invested more and scaled that up? How many more people could be off the streets getting at night, getting social services in the daytime, so that they are progressively moving toward independent living? Dignity is what it's called, right? Think about all of the little things that could be fixed at a very practical level with $500,000. And the reason I'm using $500,000 is because in our tally of the contracts so far at just two agencies, Department of Parks and Recreation, Tigwak Cemetery, and Department of Chamorro Affairs, and that's janitorial services and lawn maintenance. What lawn, by the way, for Chamorro Village and the Guam Museum, more than $500,000 expended to the company, to a business connected to Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. So what could $500,000 have done over the past several years? It could have done quite a bit. It could have solved quite a few problems that we have in this island, ranging from homelessness to affordable housing, even getting basic things at Guam Memorial Hospital, helping students who needed interventions over at Guam Department of Education, fixing potholes. All of these little things, the government of Guam could have stretched that dollar with that $500,000. And this doesn't even include everything else that we have yet to tally in contracts. We still have to go over more than 1,600 pages of procurement and financial documents connected to comfort cuts from the Guam Department of Education. And there are still more agencies who have disclosed their contractual relationship with businesses connected to the Lieutenant Governor that we haven't even touched yet. We haven't even gone over yet. That tally is going to go well above $500,000. And you have senators going through this budget process asking, what can they cut? What can be sacrificed? What is a priority? You had the administration complaining, really slandering many in the private sector, and complaining that senators wanted to cut taxes because they could not live without all these millions of dollars. Meanwhile, you have the administration expending funds that look like wastes of money and certainly not for priority areas. Wake up, senators. We in the public expect you to do a job. You're supposed to be holding the administration accountable. You are supposed to be providing those checks and balances. And when you're talking about money, when you just came out of talking, these are things that should not have been separated, conversations and discussions that should not have been separated from each other. Because as you talked about budgeting our tax dollars, you should have absolutely addressed the amount of money that's being wasted by the administration. And you should fight back. You should demand answers. And it's not too late, senators, even though you passed that budget. Start now. Start your investigation into these tenorial contracts and any other wastes of money that can be found in the government of Guam. That's our money, and it should be spent on the things that matter to us. And what should matter to us is helping those most in need. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Good afternoon. God bless you, and I love you all.
We got that dynamite. We got that dynamite.
Find the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport, starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.
Dare to try? Something new? Life's too short.
You gotta chill with a snackable drink.
Life is too short. Hey, you gotta shoot.
Mogu Mogu.
Moku moku.